Hello, it's Jim Reed here with a short video about two controllers, both pulsed feedback controllers. One is the slightly redesigned Gauge Master UF from Jonathan Scott's site, which is a review of controllers. The other one is designed by Brian Tilbury in 1974 for the 2mm Association and uses 3 transistors. The Jonathan Scott UF1 uses 3 semiconductors. So I'm going to start with Jonathan's and I'll shut up while it's moving. And back to where it came from. We'll notice a hum. And then on to the Brian Tilbury one from 1974, doing the same thing. The Jonathan Scott UF1 uses a thyristor. Brian Tilbury one uses three transistors. And when it stops, it switches off. Whereas the Jonathan Scott one doesn't. It hums quite loudly. I didn't notice it at shows, and I didn't really notice it at home. But the videos seem to pick it up quite well. In fact, quite loudly. Why that should be, I don't know. Something to do with the microphone, I suppose. Anyway, back to the Jonathan Scott one, this time pulling the wagon. The reason I'm doing this is because pulse controllers tend to shudder, especially at a low speed. And the Jonathan Scott UF1 is pretty good actually. So just slow that down and back again. Because of the pulses, wagons tend to bounce slightly on the buffers. And this controller is very good at not doing that. But that hum is very loud. Back to Brian's and the same thing. There is a bit of wobble in the chain. At higher speed, it doesn't happen at all. So reversing back, there is a little bit of bounce. Now, and you can hear it as well. I've reduced the amperage that's going into both controllers down to 0.125 of an amp. These are, I use Chinese motors. Most of them will start at 0.04 of an amp. With a 1 amp supply or a half amp supply, both controllers will bounce wagons. So the less amps, the better. And you can buy a 12 volt 3 VA, which will give you 1.5 amps, and if you divide that by 12, that comes out to 0.125 of an amp, which is all that's needed for this controller. Now, I'm not going to say which controller I prefer. This is the Brian Tilbury one again. They're both very good. And I suppose what I'm doing here is nitpicking. And back with the Jonathan Scott UF1. This is for the members of RM Web, for a thread that really didn't get finished in 2013. And I started a new thread for which I shall put a link underneath the YouTube video, and anyone who wants to read about the controllers can read it there. I've done a PDF as well for people who've never ever built anything electronical, showing what to do, what the components look like, and both the circuits. They're both quite simple. Anyway, thanks for looking, and all the very best.